welcome to Basketball Talk Pro. My name is Ron Ekker. Today we're going to take maybe a little bit of a tricky subject. I want to talk to you about mental practice, and I've talked to you before about it. And I have advocated it, especially in the use of the jump shot drill, which is a very good way to get extra practice with it. And even the rebounding drill to a certain extent. But basically, you can take any skill that you're trying to master, and mental practice can help you do that. When I was in graduate school, I did my master's thesis on mental practice at a time when there was very little information about it. The history of it is the closest we can come, though I think if you searched ancient times, even the samurai swordsman practiced a form of it. But the major modern day came from piano players when they had to travel by train in the early 1900s, and it was impossible to bring a piano along. And they would get to a city and have to play. So they learned how to play in their mind. They didn't call it mental practice at that time, but they played over all their pieces that they had to play in their mind, a very good form of mental practice. And at the time I did my thesis, mainly it was on very simple skills. Dart throwing was one of them. That I remember, and testing to see if practicing mentally really did any good. But now, it's very accepted. Athletes especially employ it. A lot of Olympic athletes use it and have success with it. And so I think you need to consider it. It's a tool for you. It's not only a tool for the players, and you need to know how to teach the players, but it's a tool for you. I personally have worked with mental practice in overcoming a personality thing, a temper thing that bothered me in practice. And I just felt I had to do something about it. And, you know, you can think about it, you can read about it, but I had to have something stronger. And so I mental practiced it. Now I can't say that it has made taking care of the situation perfectly, but it certainly has reduced it dramatically and allowed me to be much freer in practice. And once I got that off my back, my relationship with the players changed. I was more tolerant. I could accept more. And so that helped me quite a bit. But I've also had a player that, because of a knee problem, could not practice. The doctor said if he practiced, he wouldn't make it half the year. He mental practiced. The only time he was physically on the floor was the day of the game when we ran through our plays. But he learned our plays and our defense mental practicing. He ended up being our leading rebounder and our leading scorer, and never practiced with the team. Other than, you know, he sat quietly on the sideline in practice so he could hear everything I said and what was happening, but then he would close his eyes and go through it mentally, the play that we were practicing or the defense that we were practicing. So we got a full season out of a player that was very strong, and actually it led us to the national tournament. So I know it works. I've just seen it work too many times. But it requires some coaching on your part if you're trying to get a player to do it. And it requires some coaching if you're the one that's doing it. You can practice any skill. I don't care what it is. As long as it's a skill or even a mental problem. I have had the experience of being able to find solutions to a problem that I thought was not solvable with just applying myself mentally, practicing a favorable outcome. And remember that that's a key to when you practice mentally. You never make mistakes and you never miss a shot. You succeed every time, and that is important in the work of it. I ended up on my thesis doing what was at that time a very kind of unheard of thing. I used the freshman team of the college I was working with, and we did not allow them to have physical free throw practice. We only practiced mentally for half the year. And even though they never practiced physically during that time, their free throw shooting improved. The varsity team, we used it as a supplement and for half the year. And they did physical practice, but they also did mental practice every day. And their free throw shooting improved. So it was, it convinced me. But it takes a lot of concentration. You have to follow certain guidelines. You can't take this lightly. You can't do it while you're watching TV, or you can't do it while you're riding down the, even if you're not driving. You have to set the stage. You have to do it in a certain manner. Otherwise, you're just you're wasting time. You won't get the effect that you want. And the key to it is very deep concentration. And you have to keep your mind very highly concentrated on the skill involved. I'm going to show you physically a way to do it. You can't get inside my head, so you're going to have to listen to what I say is going on inside my head. But I just want you to be aware that there's a procedure to do this. Don't overlook that procedure. And first of all, I will tell you, and then I'm going to show you. You should always do this standing. Now, you can do it in a chair, but you have to really hold your concentration, and I find it much easier while you're standing. I ask players if they're doing this or want to do it standing. Then the jump shot drill, I would insist that they stand. And you need to quiet your mind. We're all got 10,000 things going through our mind all the time. Well, you need to stop that for a while before you start. Otherwise, it's going to distract you. So what I recommend, and it seems to work well for me and most people, is that you quietly take 10 deep, not deep breaths, normal breaths, and count those breaths and really feel every part of the breath. Don't try to force the breath. Allow the breathing to be normal, but follow it as it goes in and when it comes out, and count. And you should do 10 of those, at least. Maybe for some of you it might take more, to quiet yourself so that the distractions are minimal. And then you can practice whichever skill you want to practice. Now I'm going to do it in front of you, but I will be able to talk and talk you through things as that I know are occurring in my mind at that time. It will not disturb me because the film work is going to be done with nobody talking, nobody around even, and I'm talking over the film. So I have no, while I'm doing it, I have no way of hearing anything. And I'm going to take a skill that is not basketball. You know, I'm not playing anymore. I don't really need any basketball skills except learning how to miss in rebounding practice, which I have mental practice, by the way. But I'm going to take a musical instrument, and I'm going to play a scale on the saxophone mentally. And it's not the scale itself isn't difficult, but the way I'm going to practice it is difficult, because I go all the way to the top of the instrument, all the way back to the bottom of the instrument, and come back to the beginning. And I'm going to practice mentally that scale for 6 weeks. I will not physically practice it, but at the end of 6 weeks, I'm going to play that scale, even though I've never practiced it before. I know the scale, but I've never really spent a lot of time on it. I chose one that was fairly new to me. So I'm going to go now, and when you see this again, I'll be standing, and I will be talking to you, talking you through the procedure that I want you to be very cognizant in. And you know, it's a little silly to film a guy just standing with his eyes closed, and that's another thing. You should practice. You should do mental practice with your eyes closed, so that and not moving a muscle, and the muscles will move, but no movement of hands or body. You'll see I'm very still. All the practice must take place in the mind, not moving your hands, feeling how the ball feels, all of that. Everything's inside of you, not outside of you. So let's go now, and I'll talk you through what is happening to me mentally at that time. Okay, when I step forward, I'll be stepping forward to do the quieting of the mind. Now I'm counting to 10, and I'll describe that a little bit at the end. But this is very important to get your mind as quiet as possible. You come into this with a lot of things on your mind, and you want to get rid of those. You want to quiet everything down as best you can. You may have to really concentrate. You may get distracted, and you have to bring it back to your breathing. Now he will step back in just a little bit. I guess that's not a he, I guess it's me. And that will indicate that he's just taking a break. He probably wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do this normally. And he'll step forward again. And now, when he closes his eyes, he is starting to practice the scale, doing it with his mind, but his mind is actually placing the fingers on the right keys and making the movement to the next keys, and so on up all of the notes up to the very top of the saxophone where he runs out of notes. Then he'll work his way down again, and that is even more difficult when you're learning a scale. But he's keeping his mind very focused, even though you can hear some distractions. in the background. Phone rings, uh, but you have to. This is going to happen to you unless you live in a house where there's nobody and nothing. Uh, you just bring your mind back to what you're practicing, and I think he's was able to do that. But he's on his second run through now, and still, you know, what you're doing here is the mind is helping the muscles, and they're learning the path that they need to take. In a week or so, this will go very fast. He'll be going through it very fast. And now he's done. Uh, he only took two run-throughs on the scale. He probably would do 5, and then after a while 10, because it'll go a lot faster now that his brain and his fingers are nowhere to go. That's it. It may look a little foolish, but it works. Well, I'd like to talk you through a little bit and just explain to you what was going on while I was standing there. And I know it's kind of almost dangerous to have a video like that where you just see a guy standing, not doing anything with his eyes closed. But it's a way I could show you the procedure, which is very, very important. Actually, on the 10 breaths, and I did all 10 of them, by the time I got to 7, I was breathing very normally, and I really lost any feeling of anybody watching or anybody seeing it. I really was able to keep my concentration on 7, 8, 9, and 10. Felt good. But when I came back to the instrument, I had a little trouble because I had to figure out the scale the first time. I went up and down, and that took me a little time. I had to feel my way through that, but it was very important to me that I did it right. And the second time through, though, I did it twice. The second time through, I was able to reach the notes fairly easily. And I think had I done it another 3-4 times, which I would have in a normal time, I think by the 3rd or 4th or 5th time, I would have been pretty accurate with my fingers and did the notes correctly. After that, then, it's just repeating. Now, it did disturb me a little bit, and I had to really focus. There's a phone went off. You probably heard it. It was walking on the floor above me. I'm right underneath our living room floor. And the air conditioner was on. So, I tried to focus as hard as I could. But those things are going to happen to you, too. But try to find a quiet room. I faced the camera. If I were, and when I do it on my own, I will face the wall rather than the camera. And I would probably do it in a much more darkened room. And I'll probably do it in a room upstairs so that I don't have the distractions of people walking. And you should too. Don't try to do this doing something else. Get rid of people. Get rid of animals. Close the door. Get quiet. Very important. Your ability to concentrate, which will improve as you do this. and the concentration will get very, very focused. Players that did it with me when I was doing my master's thesis, you know, they did it for a semester, and they could shut off everything by that time and just really focus, and they would easily make their 25 free throws. You know, they could see the flight of the ball, they could feel the release on their hand, they could feel how the ball felt while they were going through their little routine. And I stood behind them, and I think I've said this before, and this was after practice, so they're sweaty, and their shirts were clinging to their bodies. I could see the muscles twitch in their legs, and in their back, and in their back of their arms. They did not know they were twitching. But as they went through the process, the muscles were actually following them and starting to develop their path. But you know, there's books written on this. I've read them. A lot of them, though, are a lot of fluff in them, because to write a whole book about this is, you know, there's not much material. I say keep it simple. What I just showed you, I think is the best way to do it. But do it consistently. You will find that you're able to keep your mind on the feel of everything, the procedure of it, the technique of it, and your muscles are learning while you're doing this. But you have to concentrate very diligently so that they get the right message. I hesitated to do this video, and I still may not display it, I don't know, but I did want you to understand what mental practice is, and I think you need to understand the procedure, and because it is a tool. It's a very effective tool used by a lot of high-level athletes. So that's it for today. We'll see you next time. Have a nice day.